And Gordon, the owner, had said, people drive too fast through there, so, I said, well, the gate would come down and, a speed bump on each side would solve, people driving fast. And so, and then I've been told, in the past, that there's been 3 heart attacks out there, and 911 was unable to gain access to that road because of the padlock gate. So then they have to drive all the way around, and one of those persons actually died. And then last summer, there was a trailer house that burnt down, and fire and rescue wasn't able to get in right away because of this lock gate. And I know, when people have a heart attack and emergency, being a nurse, I know seconds count. And, that's, it shouldn't have happened. And outside, for emergency vehicles, we can't get deliveries, UPS, FedEx. Christmas time, our kids sent us packages, they were returned because unable to deliver because this gate. And, if I put in my phone, and any of you put my address in there, it's gonna take you to that gate. And, so I just, and I think it's illegal to block a 911 access, and that's what that is. Ray West, who was the attorney on the land, when I purchased it from the abstract, and he has sent Gordon several letters to, request the gate be removed, and he still refuses and insists, that road, he purchased that road, that he bought the whole road. And, Larry Hayda, I've talked to tons of people, Don King, Larry Hayda, he did the survey on the property, and it clearly shows on my title insurance and everything that it is an easement recorded through the court, and it's a 911 access road. And, I've talked to tons of people. I know a lot of you already know about this because I've talked to some of you also. So, and, I've double checked the 911, our address is correct. That is the easement through there for our address. And, I just, a lot of them said the gate should be down. I've had to call the sheriff's office out before they come to the gate. I have to meet them at the gate. They can't come, they haven't come in. And, all of them say, that gate should not be there. Well, I just, who makes the decision about the gate? And, if they decided it needs to come down, who enforces it to come down? And, it's really an emergency deal. A lot of elderly people live out there. It's a retirement type, there's not a lot of kids, but, and heart attacks, and if emergency can get through, that is an emergency.
Well, I certainly can understand your concern. We can schedule a meeting to discuss it further. There's this public comments during the commissioner's court is not an opportunity for us to have a discussion.
Right.
Because we can't respond or interact or ask questions, but I'll certainly schedule a meeting with you, and I'll sit down and talk about it further and offer you some suggestions.
Okay.
I'm aware of that. I've talked to Ms. Kelly in the past about it, and so I know that it's an ongoing problem. And so we will, if you'll wait, we have a short agenda. If you'll wait until the end of the agenda, I'll talk to you about scheduling a meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
And like I said, I give you all the paperwork there.
Yeah, they're right here.
The easement.
Yes, sir.
All that.
Okay?
Thank you.
Is it John?
Yes, sir.
Correct? Is it correct? No.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Your Honor, pretty much most of what the discussion about problems therein with this gate blocking an easement. And I understand completely now that this is not an interaction session, it's just a statement that we're scheduled. Some of my concerns that are over and above and beyond Donna's is the individuals involved. Because of the length of time that this has gone on and myself witnessing multiple occasions. And by the way, myself, I own multiple pieces of real estate in Zebby Beachville Resort and in Brown County. Even though I'm not a resident of Brown County, I frequent the area and do business here. I've been shocked to see the amount of assistance that's been given municipally from the sheriff's office, and everybody seems to think it's a civil matter, when I'm viewing it from a different light entirely after going through this for so long. One being, you can look at it as an attempt, I'm looking at it like an attempted theft, is what I'm looking at it as. Because a charlatan would use adverse possession, and this is no different than any other land baron attempted theft, course, wasn't doing anything. And I'm just a bit let down the way it was handled from the sheriff's office, and I understand nobody wants to be involved. Mr. Kelton, I spoke to you on the phone, and I tried desperately to reach you last week to see if I could get you as an advocate on our behalf in looking at it in this light. And like I said, I understand that this is not a back and forth session to discuss, but this matter goes a lot deeper than just a gate being up. The fact that the events that are connected to this gate are able to go on in the state of Texas, I find so repugnant, it gives me a stomachache. I mean, just the fact that an easement can be blocked when actually an elected paid official of the county, Mr. Don King, the surveyor, not only could I not reach him after I don't know how many attempts over and over the last more than a year's worth. All it would take is Mr. King, which this document clearly shows that it is an easement, and this is registered in the courthouse. I didn't have time to get this in as an exhibit. However, this clearly states, and there could have been a tremendous amount of grief. And, you know, like Dennis said, there's been multiple occasions where 911 couldn't get in. There's actually a death, whether that relates to that, I don't know. But the fact that that first part that I mentioned, that's a pretty blunt statement. But I do believe that we're looking at charlatans at work trying to steal real estate. And Mr. King, as the elected paid official, all he'd have to do is, by the way, his stamp and seal and signatures on this document. This could have spared a tremendous amount of grief for not only all the residents, but also the sheriff's office. I'm a firm believer in law and order and everybody abiding by that. And in my case, I view this as a tremendous waste of time and energy for everybody involved that is involved in the courthouse. And it could have been resolved very easily by Mr. King going to cut this gate down. And there again, law-abiding citizen as I understand the letter of the law dictates if somebody's property is damaged or a person is injured, there will be an arrest. So even though it's a $7 lock and a $30 gate, I was compelled to remove it myself. However, restraint and better judgment, I bring it before you and everybody involved what I'm seeing this as. And it may be shedding some light on something that nobody else is viewing it this way. But I mean, if you break down a square foot price on real estate, it's a pretty substantial theft. I mean, if somebody's to do this and go through these great lengths for adverse possession, in my eyes, that's exactly what it is. And like I said, I could go on and on about things. However, your time is very important. I understand that. And that's one of the atrocities that I see here is a tremendous amount of time that's wasted by the court. I'm sure every time the sheriff's office sees Mr. Duff's friend's phone number, because of the amount of times that she's called, the amount of incidences that have occurred and what offshoots have arisen because of that game. Another thing that Dana didn't mention that I know she's experiencing, and everybody else out there as well, they're not able to get Amazon delivery, FedEx delivery. It's created a lot of havoc for all of the residents. And from my stance, like I said, I don't live there. I spend time there recreational. However, from my stance, to have to not go into work, you're supposed to be able to go into and go clear around. Yes, you can get access to it by going clear around. It's just a tremendous inconvenience.
Well, I think your time's about up. And so if you want to wait, excuse me, if you want to wait.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd like to join in that conversation with yourself.
And then then I will put all of the information that she provided, we'll put that in the minutes and it'll be filed in the county clerk's office.
All right, thanks, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the consent agenda, a little bit different than we've done in the past. We're gonna start listing those items that are non-controversial and routine matters that we can take a single vote. If there's anything on the consent agenda that needs to be pulled and put as a regular agenda, we can. Otherwise, we'll take them all up at the same time. Is there anything on there that needs to be separately considered?
I don't know what he is, but
There's two E's.
the first E.
Well, then you want to put that as a regular agenda
No,
item?
I just don't know what's gonna be involved there. It's just gonna be an explanation or what?
Well, it'll be all explanation and a vote. You want to do it separately?
Which one?
E, he said.
The first E, well,
E?
there's possible, there could be possible controversy there. I don't know any possible differences. I don't know, 'cause I don't know what.
Okay, well, then we will remove that and put that in as a regular agenda item.
Yeah, we hadn't had any, I don't know what it
Okay,
is.
that'll be a regular agenda item. Anything else?
And I don't see Ann in here.
So we don't have the other E. We don't believe.
Okay, anything else? Then I'll entertain a vote for all of the other items.
Do we need to list what they are first? Or we got to make, when you do the consent agenda, do you have motions and seconds on those or not? I don't know.
We're just gonna have one motion and one second for the whole consent agenda.
Well, does he need to, like item D, does he need to read all his information into that?
No.
There are no minutes.
Okay.
To be approved this time.
I move that we approve the consent agenda except for item E. That would be A, B, C, D, and F.
Perfect. It's been moved. Anybody want a second? Just vote all on that. Second. Been moved and seconded that we approve all of the items on the consent agenda except for E, which will be moved to the regular agenda item. Is there any discussion?
We're not gonna put a burn ban back
No.
Okay.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? There being none, they're all approved. So, employee changes from the sheriff's department.
Morning.
Good morning.
We have one employee change. It's going to be a part-time. Brandon Cotton's being hired as a commissary clerk. Hilton Pierce, who left January 4th, 2013. $14 an hour, not to exceed 29 hours per week.
What was the position?
Commissary clerk.
And this is a new employee.
Yes, sir.
I move we approve the employee changes in the sheriff's office.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the sheriff's department employee changes to add Brandy Cotton as a commissary clerk. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
For your jail report, it looks like we have 140 inmates, 110 male, 30 female, 1 local housed elsewhere. ready, 5 male, 3 female.
Females are almost full.
Getting there.
Next, we'll go to business that needs to be discussed and considered for approval. A, we're gonna remove that from, we're not gonna take that up today. We will reconsider A at either next Monday or the Monday following. Until we can get some more information. Consideration, B is consideration of possible approval of the appointment of 3 new members of the Child Welfare Board to be presented by Lisa Caldwell.
Good morning. We have 2 new members joining us today. First is Joseph Dennis. He grew up near Odessa, Texas, and now lives south of May. He is an active member of the Rising Star Church of Christ and is married with 5 wonderful children and 2 grandchildren. A retired Air Force colonel, he now raises cattle and is a published writer of fiction novels under the pseudonym Seth Rondon. Joe has a bachelor's in education, a master's in aerospace systems technology, and is a graduate from both Air Command and Staff College and Air War College. In his spare time, he enjoys participating in the productions offered by the Lyric Theater and is a member of the theater's board of directors. And we also have Miss Janet Ratcliffe. She is originally from Abilene and graduated from ACU. She has 3 children, Stell, Lexi, and Lakin Ratcliffe. She has worked for the state for 10 years, 9 years for CPS as an investigator, and is currently an investigator with Adult Protective Services. She enjoys warm weather and outdoor activities and attends Coggin Avenue Baptist Church. So if you would like to approve, then we greatly appreciate it.
Now, that was 2, right?
We have 1 more, but she's not with us.
Okay.
We'll reschedule.
Okay.
She had a work conflict.
Somebody want to make
I
a
make a motion that we approve the 2 new members of the Child Welfare Board.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve these 2 additions. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Most people present,
Yes.
Yes.
stand up, recognize them.
Thank you, Joe.
Check y'all.
And Janet. Thank you.
It is approved, Sharon, for purposes. Next on the agenda is consideration, and y'all are more than welcome to stay. You don't have to stay if you don't want to, but you're more than, you're not being rude if you get up and leave. Consideration and possible approval of the expenditure amount not to exceed $52,000 for the purchase of a 2024 350 pickup for precinct 3.
Y'all remember a couple of weeks ago, we got approved some surplus, a truck and a bedded up trailer and a old jail pickup to sell on gov deals. Which that sale hadn't been completed yet, but anyway, that person needed another pickup. So we found a 2020 one-ton Ford. For the price of $52,000. Checking the prices around it, it's a good price on it. Anyway, I'll make a motion to approve and I'll have more than enough funds to buy the pickup out of our funds and the sales of those gov deal equipment. Make a motion, we approve the purchase of this 2024 350.
Anything over 50,000, Commissioner Shaw, has to be bid.
Oh, that's right.
Unless you're getting it off of the backlog vendor.
Yeah,
And
I don't think-
used
But he said.
equipment and,
So we didn't need to do that, because that's right. 52,000, 57, which I overlooked that, never saw it.
Either that or buy it for less than 50.
Well, yeah. But anyway,
That's all I can go.
yeah, that's exactly correct.
Now, the exception to that is buy board and some of them other
Yes.
deals we've got.
But
Thank
I just
you.
wanted to make that everybody know.
an exception, used equipment or used vehicles
Yeah,
don't fall under buy board. They won't put them
No.
on.
That's right.
It's just new equipment, new vehicles.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, yeah. And I'll get, we'll do this deal, because if you blow it for us, we're not gonna find it any cheaper.
yeah, oh, it's probably a very good price for it. I'm just,
No, you're exactly right, so. I'll explain that to you, so. And we'll start the process of being,
Either that, or do you want to approve a purchase for less than 50?
what,
Would you want them to go ahead and approve the purchase if it's less than 50?
yes, but it won't be, so.
Oh, it won't be.
That's my, I mean, that's, I can't make anything.
All right, so we will table that, request.
pass it instead of table.
Pass it
Yeah.
instead of table it.
Table something that puts time limits on it.
You know-
It's not here, we need to start that one, we have got to do it. But he's well forward for it until the time comes.
You know, interesting, this is way off the subject, but the other day I stumbled upon this Attorney General's opinion that there actually is no requirement in the state of Texas that we follow Robert's Rules of Order.
No.
We can actually we can do anything we want to as long as we don't violate open meetings and bidding and all of those things. You can kind of just kind of do whatever you want to do, as long as you follow the state law on open meetings.
Correct.
Every county that I know of in the state of Texas follows Robert's Rules of Order
Well,
To some degree.
to some degree. Yeah,
Robert's Rules of Order is about 1,400 pages long,
Yeah.
written by a Civil War general back in 1867 or something. The best short parliamentary procedure, according to Judge John at Eastland, the
Court of Appeals.
Court of Appeals, John, anyway, is what the FFA uses in high school and 4-H uses. It's pared down to instead of 1,400 pages, it's about 20. So,
Yeah. Huh. Okay, so we had moved E from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. I'm trying to hurry up for you.
Yeah.
That is when my first week or two here on the job, I had some wonderful discussions with various department heads, Sharon being one of them. They all had lists of things, of to-dos for me, and things that needed to be fixed that had not been tended to over the years, and things that needed to be changed. One of which is like the agenda, approving the agenda, and we'll take that up maybe next meeting. But Sharon and Ann and various people have kind of a list of things that they thought needed to be worked on, that had been voted on and had been misconstrued over the years, and just some things that needed to be cleaned up and fixed. One of the items on Ann's to-do list, and she does a wonderful job at the human resources side of her job, was that she thought that there was some misunderstanding, and I don't know when, but sometime in the past, the Commissioners Court instituted this waiting period for health care for employees in response, and it was in response to I'm not gonna I'm not gonna name names, but it was in response to a certain class of employees who were coming and going a lot and were coming and not staying very long. And they were only, sometimes they were only here a few weeks or a month at a time, and yet they were having healthcare insurance. It was beginning immediately. And so Sharon and Jennifer, they all know what I'm talking about. And so she thought that there needed to be some distinction between, and I hate to use the word classes of employees because that sounds bad. But if anybody who deals with Fair Labor Standards Act knows there are different classes of employees called exempt versus non-exempt employees. It all goes back to, you've got certain employees who are entitled to overtime compensation beyond so many hours worked in a week and they have to be paid. And then you've got certain classes of employees that are not entitled to overtime compensation, and those are called exempt. Those are primarily professional type positions. And so she was suggesting that there be that policy. And let me back up by saying I was at the county judge's training last week and was approached by some risk management people from TAC who said that there are some policy and procedures in Brown County that need to be fixed, and they've tried to get them fixed in the last few years and didn't get much cooperation. So they are actually coming to do an audit of some things, one of which is our personnel manual and our personnel policies, because they haven't been updated in years and years.
Well, no,
Yeah.
we did some,
Well, it's
We added a few things.
it's a hodgepodge, right? Some things that have been added and deleted and taken away. Some things have been voted on. This is a perfect example of, it was voted on and instituted, and it wasn't ever memorialized. And so y'all passed a rule regarding that waiting period, but then it was never written and put in our personnel manual. There's a lot of things. Y'all passed a rule at some point in time that said if you worked for Brown County for 25 years and retired, you continued to pay health insurance until they were eligible for Social Security.
yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Well, that was never written. That was never put in paper. I retired last year after 25 years, so I should have had my health insurance paid until I came back to work, but it was never, nothing's ever written down around here.
55?
Yeah. And so there's just, so this is the beginning of that cleanup process. Okay, and so this is the first step in cleaning up the personnel manual, and that is to distinguish between exempt and non-exempt employees as it relates to a waiting period for health insurance to begin. And
Is it currently 90 days?
it's currently 90 days, and so the cleanup would be 90 days for non-exempt, right, and not, and
No waiting period for the exam.
right,
And elected officials falling exempt,
that's right.
and elected and appointed.
And elected, appointed, yeah, and professional and managerial.
So that's not written out, it's not explained out here either, so say that again out loud.
It'll be in a written document. It is exempt versus non-exempt is defined by the Fair Labor Standards Act, okay? And so our policy will say non-exempt, those people who are entitled to overtime compensation. So they get overtime if they work beyond 40 hours, okay? That there is a 90-day waiting period for non-exempt employees.
The only ones that get overtime is in the sheriff's department as it is,
No,
correct?
it's, even if your road crew works overtime,
They get comp time.
they
They
get
get comp time.
It's the same thing.
It's still considered the same.
So if you're a managerial employee,
You don't
And
get
you
on the
work 60 hours in a week, you get the exact same pay no matter how many hours you.
Salary.
That's right. Well, but it's not salary versus non-salary because there are salary people who are entitled to comp time. It's
Okay.
exempt. So like you, for instance, if you work 60 hours, you get paid the exact same if you work 60 or 30.
But like our foreman that's over people, he works a lot over, he,
Well, that's probably a question that she's gonna have to answer about
He
your
gets
form.
comp time.
I do
He
not
gets
pretend to be
comp
an HR
do what?
professional
Yeah.
person, but the difference is for an exempt person, you guys, myself, Sharon, is that you're able to make decisions on your, you don't have to go to a manager and you run your office department, et cetera. A non-exempt is not able to make a final decision without approval of someone above them.
So
So
therefore,
your foreman is getting comp time when he works.
yes.
therefore,
And that's
your
But you're-
foreman,
but
I mean,
but
I'm
you're
just
not.
bringing that up.
Yeah.
No, I need to
our foremen do not get to make decisions on their own.
understand.
And so that's why there's the waiting period for that.
I just want to clarify, because kind of over people, but.
Right.
That's what I was
No,
trying to
it's-
clarify. Yeah, I mean, I know it.
If you're the ceiling of your department, then you're considered exempt.
Exempt.
If you've got somebody else to go to before you can make any decision at all that's relatively important, then you're not exempt.
Got it? Anybody want to make a motion?
On item
Well, I think it's D, actually.
yeah.
Oh, it's E.
It's.
It's E under the consent agenda.
The other one's
Yeah, but
exempt.
it's E, but we moved it to business to be discussed
Okay.
under the pickup
What do you want
purchase.
me to title it? Not matter what,
Well, see where it's at. See, it's E.
yeah, there's two E's though.
Well, I know, that's a typo. It's
So just move
the
it to.
first E will be moved under E1.
E1, E2.
The first E will be moved under business to be discussed and considered for approval.
So it'll be E, that's C there.
D.
D.
E.
D
From-
under.
That's gonna be confusing.
From item 4E to item 6D.
It's
Yes,
read it.
Yes,
that's
Yes,
That's
exactly
gonna
right.
be,
yes.
difficult to explain in the minutes.
6D.
So
6D.
hopefully the minutes, we won't have to do this every time because they'll be like that, right?
Right.
They're gonna be fixed as it
We're
is.
working towards that.
Okay.
Well, then I'll make a motion that we approve. That's not really changes, it should be clarification of the waiting period for health insurance for county employees.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
What was
Second,
this- What was
Larry?
your motion actually, to do what?
Yeah, to clarify the employee personnel policy.
Oh,
Between exempt and non-exempt employees.
Healthcare insurance.
And then we'll put it in writing so it can be an
clarify
actual.
personnel policy, and who seconded it?
Larry,
Okay.
all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Perfect, thank you. Does anybody have any other business they want to tend to before we adjourn?
I will stay with you.
Did you send us item A, under business to be discussed?
Excuse me?
Item A, under business to be discussed. We're skipping that.
We're gonna skip that. We're gonna get some clarification on how that fits into our future plans.
Okay.
All right, then we're adjourned at 9:43.